Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. You know, he's right. You gotta keep your head up because it's all gonna turn out fine. Isn't that right, Felicia? Well, we had a few technical difficulties, but here we are with you, and I am thrilled to be here tonight because on this past weekend, we had the Math Maze Tournament. And I tell you, there were a lot of proud moms and dads and teachers, and most of all, students that participated in this year's Math Maze Tournament. And I'd love to share with you the three winners because it's just, they did an outstanding job. And one of the reasons that things went so well is because of the sponsor of Math Maze, Professor Ron Glimpf. He was there along with many of his colleagues and friends. And I tell you, it really just went off without a hitch. The teams, they were prepped and they were raring to go. And I was just so impressed because of the level of diversity, the level of eagerness by both the male and the female students, because it was, I would say, pretty much equal. You know, you hear a lot that women and females don't participate so much in the math and in the sciences, but this particular group of young ladies proved them all wrong. And as a matter of fact, the third place winner was a young lady. So it was just good to see. The first and second place winners were both black males, which I was equally happy to see. So I just want to say a big, hearty thank you to everybody that came out to support and to participate. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is how the difference makers in lives, volunteerism, and random acts of kindness, they can play such a major role. And as soon as we're able to, we're going to show you pictures of the first, second, and third place winners, because they were very happy because they won money. And the first place winner, way before the tournament ended, I happened to talk to him during the lunch hour, and he told me, he said, "Oh, well, I'm going to win that $150. And I loved his confidence, and sure enough, he was the winner. So as soon as we can, we're going to show you a photo of all of our wonderful winners. But like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about volunteering and making a difference in this world, and also about random acts of kindness, because the organization AARP, they've started this big push to partner Americans who've had some experiences in life, the 50-plus crowd, and they've started to partner them with high school youngsters and young people, the 18 to 34-year-old crowd, because what they'd like to do, they're trying this experiment to see if people who have experience in many things in life, if they can be helpful in terms of validating and in terms of increasing the value of life that young people have and the challenges that they may have faced, and ways that perhaps they can be of significance in terms of the role that they might play in the lives of young people. So AARP is doing some wonderful things, And while they may be focused on seniors, they are thinking about the big picture. And I have a great appreciation for that. But also, I'm going to share with you about Venus and Serena Williams in terms of them giving back. So there's a lot to cover on tonight's show. And if you'd like to be a part of the show, as always, you can feel free to call us at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. If you would like to call and ask a question or make a comment. And if you were at the Math Maze tournament, I'd love to hear from you as well. But like I said, we're gonna talk about AARP and this new and exciting program that they have to really start to make a difference in the lives of young people. And the idea is that the senior generation, they're giving back. It says, as we get older, Mark Friedman said, we want to be part of something larger than ourselves. To harness this yearning, he and hundreds of fellow boomers gathered earlier this year in a San Francisco convention hotel, a few miles from the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, where the Summer of Love helped ignite the 60s counterculture half a century ago. They were plotting a different social revolution for a different time. When they were young, boomers defied their elders on everything from civil rights, gender equality, gay liberation in Vietnam, to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now, as they become elders themselves, some are feeling tugged again toward activism. Friedman's national nonprofit group, Encore.org, which held the conference, promotes second acts for the greater good. Next month, it will launch Generation to Generation, a program that wants to mobilize a tsunami of older Americans to work in youth-serving organizations as volunteers, part-time staffers, or stipend recipients. Friedman and others believe the demographics, the moment is right for such integration and activism. As any self-respecting boomer will tell you, there's never before been so many older adults with so much gas left in their tanks. At the same time, a growing number of children and youth are living in poverty, and rates of childhood poverty in the United States now exceed rates of elder poverty by a sizable margin and are among the highest of any of the world's economically advanced nations. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, I think this is a wonderful thing to always be able to pair experience and knowledge and skills and talents with people who are still trying to find their way, as many young people are doing. But I was doing some research, and it's very interesting about volunteerism. I'm going to call it volunteerism by the numbers, and I think these numbers are pretty interesting. The first thing that jumped out at me is that women volunteer for any cause. It doesn't matter what it is. 5% more actually than men do. So men, we just need you to get on the stick a little bit more so you can make that number more equal. It doesn't have to be that women do a better job at volunteering. That's a number that we can make equal. The other interesting number is that teenagers, 16 to 19, they have higher rates. They have a higher rate of volunteerism than 45 to 54-year-olds. Now, they have the highest rate, but teenagers have the next highest rate, which I was very impressed with. So it lets me know that young people contrary to what you might hear about them, they are engaged in activities and they have concerns about more than just themselves. So I was very impressed with that. The married people, and I found that very interesting. Married people volunteer at a higher rate than single people. Now, I would think that married people would volunteer at a less higher rate simply because they have a family and they have a lot of other concerns. But that's not what the data says. And this is from the Bureau of Statistics. So I'm going to trust what they're saying. But it says that married people volunteer at a higher rate than single people. So I'm going to go with that. And this also supports that because it says that parents with children under 18 volunteer more than adults with no children. So there you go. And it says that people with higher levels of education are more likely to volunteer. And I certainly get that because there's just a lot of things that you're often interested in if you have a higher level of education because you've been exposed to a lot of things. So, of course. And they say that the areas that people volunteer the most for would be religious causes, educational causes, and youth services, which I understand because the event that I participated in over the weekend, it was an educational and a youth service event. And like I said, there were a lot of people there. So it was very impressive to see so many volunteers, both in terms of parents, in terms of teachers, and in terms of students, and then just people who have civic activism as part of their goal in life. So it was wonderful to see all of that come together. So I'm hoping, we're going to go to break here shortly, and I'm hoping that when we come back, we can have the pictures of the winners. Because like I said, I'm just really impressed that it's 2 males and a young lady. And like I said, this audience was very diverse. These students came from everywhere, and they all had very interesting cultural backgrounds. But the 2 young black males and the young Hispanic lady, they were the winners. So I'm very happy to see that. And like I said, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, hopefully we'll have their pictures. So stay with us, okay?
Math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it. Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
All right, and we are back. We are going to get to those pictures, so just bear with us, okay? We're having a few technical difficulties, but I tell you, I can see it. It's getting better already. But as I said, starting out the show, that AARP has a program that it's doing. It's called A Generation Gives Back, and it's older volunteers reaching out to America's youth in many different ways. And before I continue with what they're doing, I have to say that volunteerism to me is one of the most rewarding and gratifying things that you can do. On my show that I did for Thanksgiving, I talked about how I have volunteered before to serve meals on Thanksgiving Day to families and people who have challenges. And there is nothing like being able to give a part of yourself freely and have someone appreciate you for doing so. So that's my reason for participating in voluntary situations, because it is a very gratifying experience, and there's nothing like it, because you're there because you desire to be, and the people that you are there for, they appreciate your effort. So whenever you find the opportunity, I say volunteer. The other note about volunteering, though, is that many times people say that they would love to do so, they just don't know how to get involved. Well, I always say, if you really do want to volunteer, always start with your local hospital, because I remember just talking to some patients one day. I was there at a hospital just to visit somebody, and just in sharing and talking with some patients in a random conversation, they talked about how, sometimes you'd love to have somebody just come and read to you, or come and talk about current events, or read the paper, simply because they want to know what's going on sometimes, but they're just not feeling up to getting the paper, even though generally in the hospital you can watch television, but sometimes they want to see a magazine, or they want to see the newspaper. So these are just ways, if you're looking for a way to get started, these are ways to think about volunteering. But back to what AARP is doing. It says that generational volunteering, it's not a new concept. It draws its inspiration from the late John W. Gardner, a civic activist who exhorted fellow citizens to find breathtaking opportunities disguised as insoluble problems. 2 decades ago, in his early 80s, he and Friedman helped launch what is now AARP Experience Corp., a program that engages older adults as tutors for at-risk public school students. Today, it is just one among scores of intergenerational initiatives across the country. An organization with a similar mission, Jumpstart for Children, started in 1993 as a program that paid college students a small stipend to work as teachers' aides in preschools in disadvantaged communities. But in recent years, it has been recruiting older adults because they're more mature. They know how to foster a confidence in the children and a feeling of being cared for, said Ray Ramirez, Director of Early Childhood Education at Proyecto Pastoral, which uses Jumpstart's volunteers in its Los Angeles preschool programs. The granddaddy of such initiatives, Foster Grandparents, was created half-century ago. As part of the U.S. government's Senior Corps program, research has shown that its benefits flow not just to at-risk children, but to older volunteers who work with them in the schools, hospitals, juvenile correction facilities, and daycare centers. When you see kids running to greet their older volunteers, and when you see the faces of the older adults light up, you understand how much the generations can do for each other, said Lester Strong, a former AARP Foundation Vice President and CEO of Experience Corps, who attended the Encore conference. Of course, programs like these cannot by themselves solve the next generation's upward mobility challenges. The scale is too vast, but we are at a promising demographic moment if we marry the energy of older adults with the energy of the young, said Donna Butts, Executive Director of Generation United, who accepted an award at the Encore Conference for her nonprofit organization's work. So I guess the key thing to think about is this. If you are an older American, if you really think about your life, you have something in terms of experience, if nothing else, to offer young people. The idea is that it's giving of yourself. And that's the important thing, because while young people may have parents, they may not have grandparents. And so you can fill a role that perhaps you never thought about, and it's probably, and I don't know if this is always true, but it's a possibility that if you don't have grandchildren of your own, you can at least experience what that feels like through some kids that, you're going to have that experience with, and then they're going to go home to their own parents. So it's a good way to have your cake and eat it too, I guess, as a grandparent. Now we have a caller, and then we're going to get back to what. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We have the pictures, of the winners. Oh, great. Now, I apologize for this because I don't have the names of two of the winners. I only have the name of the first place winner. And his name is Assad Palmer, and I think he's from Marcus Garvey School, and he's an 8th grader, I believe. So he's our first place winner, and the very confident young man who told me that he was going to win the $150, and he did. And the second place winner, I think his first name is Jordan, but I don't have his last name. And the young lady, I don't have her last name either. But I tell you, these are all terrific young people, and their parents should be very proud of them, as well as their teacher. So, and again, we want to thank all the teachers for their participation and for the care of these young people that day, and for acting as leaders and proctors for the actual event itself. So thank you to all of the teachers who came in on a Saturday to volunteer and make the tournament happen. So thanks to all of them as well. But those are our big winners, and we take our hats off to them. Now, to get back to AARP and its program, I'm sure AARP may even have something like this. I'm going to contact them just to find out, because if they don't, then maybe they'll add Math Maze to their repertoire. It says, the power of community. At the San Francisco conference, more than 100 activists shared tradecraft about how to build programs like these into a coordinated nationwide movement. Most attendees were boomers, and they came with their generational elan at full throttle. Robert Egger, founder of LA Kitchen, before that DC Central Kitchen, which provides food service training to young adults aging out of foster care and older men and women coming out of prison, spoke about what happens when young and old who have been through hard times help one another find a path forward. A great nonprofit doesn't fix problems, he said. It reveals the power of a community to solve them. The Reverend Belle Mickelson, who founded a traveling music program for children in a remote Alaskan village, and Jamal Joseph, who created a theater program for youth in Harlem, were among the half-dozen recipients of Encore's annual Purpose Prize, given to older adults who find innovative ways to serve the public good. Starting this year, AARP will administer the prize. More than a few conference goers had lumps in their throats as Joseph, a former Black Panther who did 2 stints in prison, described the journey from pain to power that led him to found Impact Repertory Theater, which teaches leadership skills as well as creative arts. Veterans of intergenerational volunteer efforts caution, however, that the movement faces some uphill battles. John Gompertz, head of America's Promise Alliance, another nonprofit that promotes civic activism on behalf of youth, asked during one of the workshops if these programs are such an awesome idea, and they are, how come we don't have even more of them? I have that same question. There's no reason that every state, and especially a major city like Los Angeles in the state of California, I mean, this just should be on every corner like they have liquor stores and whatever else that they have. I mean, this is something that's so positive. It says, one obstacle is the ageist stereotype that older adults have little to contribute. In her address to the conference, AARP CEO Joanne Jenkins called on the 10,000 boomers who will turn 65 every day between now and 2030 to demonstrate with their social activism that aging isn't a problem any more than living is. Other conference goers noted that there can be institutional hurdles to overcome. Not all youth serving organizations have easy on-ramps for volunteers. Some will have to institute costly background checks. Others may be wary of allowing volunteers to parachute into lives of vulnerable children, many of whom already experience a lot of churn at home and in school. And then there's the matter of volunteerism trends. The national rate has been ticking down for a decade, from a modern high of 28.8% of all adults in 2005 to 24.9% in 2015, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The fall-off has occurred among all age groups, and a 2014 AARP survey found a similar trend, which it attributed to a drop in affiliation and religious and service organizations, traditional mainstays of do-gooder activity. And I said that earlier, that many times if the event that people want to volunteer has something to do with education or religion or a youth activity, it's easier to get volunteers for those areas. The study does not say why it's easier, but for some reason, it's a lot easier to get people to volunteer. And if you have a story or a question or a thought that you'd like to share with us regarding being a volunteer, you can feel free to call us. Tonight, the phone number is area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. And if you have a story you'd like to share, we would love to hear it. But I applaud AARP for getting involved, and it's not easy to get large groups of people to get behind something for the common good. And so to have at least 10,000 people, I mean, that's quite a feat. It says, along with a decline in volunteering, there's been a scale back in public investments that favor the young. An ancient proverb says a society becomes great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. Wow, what a proverb. For most of our history, America has been a nation of planters. Lately, not so much. Public investments that promote economic opportunity for future generations in education, infrastructure, basic research have been declining as a share of the federal government. Well, I understand that, but I believe this. If we make ourselves a committee of one and commit to something and commit to changing something and doing something, we do not have to depend on the government to help us. And the reason I know that is on social media when they have those crowdfunding, I guess they call them events or fundraisers, they raise a lot of money. Jill Stein just raised, $5 million for the recount for the presidential election. So it just goes to show you that if you get the numbers, people don't have to contribute a lot of money. They can contribute $1 to $5 and really make a difference if a lot of people do it. So I think in this country, it is time that when we see that things need to get done, don't wait on the federal government to give you the go-ahead. I can understand you might wait on them if finances are a challenge, but the problem is the event may have come and gone by the time that you get your money. So I'm just saying if it's something that you can make happen, then just like Nike, just do it. It says, perhaps the most daunting hurdle and a reason that intergenerational harmony is more critical than ever is what some have dubbed the gray-brown divide. Our older population is mostly white, and our younger population has become increasingly non-white, and they often have a lot of interaction with each other, said Butts. The generational divide has a political dimension too. Older adults are now the most conservative age cohort in the electorate, younger adults the most liberal. These issues raise a difficult question. Will the human instinct to give something back in later life still kick in when young and old don't look, think, or vote alike? Well, I think we kind of got our answer in the last election. The rapidly diversifying America of the early 21st century is conducting that social experiment right now. On the positive side, the public isn't spoiling for a generation war. Back in the 60s, the young had a finger of protest, often the middle one, thrust in the faces of the old. By contrast, today's young put their elders on a pedestal. According to a nationwide survey conducted for Encore.org, 9 in 10 adults between the ages of 18 and 35 say that older Americans are superior to the young in their moral values, their work ethic, and the respect they show for others. The public is also optimistic about intergenerational relations. In the survey, 2/3 said that as long as Americans remember that we all have obligations to one another and to future generations, the growing diversity of the population will be a source of national strength. The activists who gathered in San Francisco hope these good vibrations can catapult intergenerational social activism into a robust national movement. One child, one adult, and one community at a time. I like that. One child, one adult, and one community at a time. That's a great slogan, and that's something that's pretty easy to remember. They see it as an antidote to the divisiveness of modern politics and an affirmation of what's best about traditional American values. And they believe It can satisfy the thirst for a purposeful life that typically intensifies with age. Doris Williams could not agree more. For the past 3 years, she has received a stipend of $2.65 per hour to work as a teacher's aide at Jumpstart programs in South Los Angeles. You are giving them something for a lifetime, she said, planting a seed that can go on forever, and they are giving you a reason to get up and go in the morning. Wow. Well, Doris has a very good point because I've heard older or Americans or seniors say that sometimes that is a challenge in life to be able to get up and get going each day. I guess because you need a reason to live, because I've heard that for many people, they plan their retirement. Well, they plan it from the standpoint that they don't have to go to work, but they don't think about what it is that they might want to do. And many times they wish they had never retired. They miss work. So my recommendation is if you don't want to be one of those people, there's a lot of other people in the world that need you, especially young folks. They're going to always need wisdom. They're going to always need guidance. And as a senior, you learn some things too. You learn definitely new ways to get things done, because the young generation, they're very much computer literate from birth. You can see little babies playing with their mom's cell phones. They have an iPad of their own many times by the time that they are 3 years old. So they come very well equipped to teach you many new and wonderful things. So I think it's a mutual exchange that we can all be proud to take a part in. So I applaud AARP for being the leader in getting volunteerism out there and making a difference for both older people who have life experience and young people who are trying to gain life experiences. Also, I want to talk about giving back as well as volunteering, because the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena Williams, as most of the world knows, that they're from Compton, California, and recently they did something I think that was very exciting. The unfortunate thing is Venus and Serena, they have a sister that was, I think, murdered in Compton. And out of that tragedy, I think they made this particular thing happen. And the reason I'm thrilled about this is because I believe that Venus and Serena, they are true examples of what hard work and dedication can bring to any individual. They, as young ladies, they were very talented and they worked very hard, and now they are truly not only at the top of their game in terms of tennis, but they do a lot of other business ventures, and they have managed to work hard and play hard. And I think that's something that many Americans find that they want to do with their lives. So I applaud them. And it says that the Williams sisters reinforced ties to Compton with a resource center named in the honor of their slain sister. This article was in the Los Angeles Times. And it says, they left Compton decades ago, pursuing a dream that flickered into shape on the rough public tennis courts of East Compton Park and crystallized into stunning success on well-manicured grass and carefully tended clay courts around the world. But Serena and Venus Williams never severed their ties with the city that shaped them, the place that taught them they'd have to battle for everything they earned, and above all, reinforce the importance of family having your back when others try to take you down. Venus Williams, a 7-time Grand Slam champion, my goodness, and the older sister at 36 said she returned to Compton last year quietly. We always keep it low-key. We don't come and make an announcement that we're here. I like that. I like their modesty. She said, "This has always been our roots and always will be. It makes us proud. You always remember those places like where we went to elementary school, the courts we practiced at, even our old home, and just places you used to go. And of course, things change over time. Places move, shops close, streets change, but it's still the same place." Their return Friday and Saturday was aimed at making Compton a better place, renewing their ties to the community while honoring the big sister whose murder in a drive-by shooting in Compton in 2003 tore a hole in their hearts that time can never repair. Serena Williams, the 22-time Grand Slam singles champion, whose 186-week reign atop the Women's Tennis Association rankings recently ended. She joined Venus on Friday at the Dollarhide Community Center to discuss details of the Yetunde Price Resource Center, which is scheduled to open in Compton early next month. Funded with a 5-year endowment from the Williams Sisters Fund, the center will be a conduit to guide those affected by violence and trauma to get the resources they need in order to heal and move on. Sharonda Little, the center's chief operating officer, projected that it will serve 50 clients per month. This is going to be not just an exchange of information, but a sustained, deep relationship, she said. It will be relational. There will be follow-up. There will be not just passing on a card or a flyer, but actually making those connections and relationships. And we obviously know it will grow because of the need. Serena and Venus Williams could have benefited from such help after Price, oldest of 3 daughters from their mother's first marriage, was killed. Yetunde Price was a registered nurse, co-owned a beauty shop, and sometimes worked as her sister's personal assistant. Was 31 and left behind 3 young children. 2 of them, daughters Justice and son Jair, on Friday received a plaque honoring their mother. The plaque will be displayed at the Resource Center. We definitely wanted to honor our great sister. She was our oldest sister, and obviously she meant a lot to us, Serena said. And it meant a lot to myself and to Venus and my other sisters as well, Isha and Lindrea, that we've been wanting to do something for years in memory of her, especially the way it happened, a violent crime. Basically, how does the family react? If her kids didn't have my mom and us, it would be really devastating. But we had such a great system that they're doing pretty good. We just felt like people that didn't have that opportunity to fall back on, what could they do? And that's kind of how this resource center came about. Serena and Venus have been involved in many charitable efforts. Serena has funded schools in Africa and Jamaica and backed college scholarships for deserving American kids. We try to help out as far as our arms can spread, Serena said. And that's pretty far. I know we'd like to wrap this whole earth, Venus said. There's never a limit. There's always a need, and we'll do everything that we can. Compton Mayor Aja Brown, 34, grew up watching the sisters' tennis feats and was delighted to welcome them back. They were so inspiring for me to see girls that look like me on the courts doing amazing things and accomplishing so much with all the discipline and tenacity and the maturity that they really were able to handle so many adverse situations, she said. Having them reconnect with Compton through the Resource Center was a significant moment for Brown and the city. It's really inspiring for myself and the entire community to have them come back and to really have a strong presence and to come back with such a powerful resource for our community, said Brown, whose maternal grandmother was murdered in a home invasion in Compton. I commend them for not only being champions in their own respectable rights, but also for being champions for Compton's residents. The sisters spent part of Saturday in familiar surroundings at Luders Park, which was walking distance from their childhood home, and for the remaining of refurbished courts as the Venus and Serena Williams Courts of Champions. These courts and courts at what's now known as East Rancho Dominguez Park are where everything began for them. Their involvement in the Resource Center, named for their sister, ensures their connection with Compton will not end. We're really appreciative to have this opportunity, Serena said, and to have it in Compton. I think it brings everything full circle. We started here, and we want to make sure people understand this is a great place to be. Wow. You know, sometimes people often get the knock when they are successful from their old communities and say, oh, you know, they never come here anymore and they don't support where they came from. Well, you know, I say to those people, it takes time to put good things in place. It just doesn't happen overnight. You know, you have to bring the team together and make sense of what it is that you're trying to do. So I commend Venus and Serena for taking their time and thinking about in what way they wanted to impact where they came from. And I would say that they came up with a very good, resource. And having a resource center to help the entire community is a wonderful and great thing no matter where you're from. So I commend Venus and Serena. Now, we're going to go to break, but when we come back, I'm going to share with you the story of a random act of kindness, because that's what we're talking about, doing things that really make a difference. So when we come back, we're going to talk about kindness. Stay with us.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Fire in the high, you know how I feel. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel.
All right, Greg
Rivers
Reporter.
running free.
I hear you. I love that song by Greg Reporter. You know how I feel. If you don't have anything else to do, pick it up and just listen to him sing that song. I think you'll feel better immediately. And this next story that I want to share with you, I think you will feel better immediately and long term because it's about just doing something wonderful. It's an unexpected situation. And I think that many times if you have the opportunity to do something unexpectedly for someone and you can, then do. Because it can just really not only warm your heart, but warm the heart of the individual that you decide to bestow your kindness upon. Again, this is in the AARP magazine, and it says, last March, after suffering from shortness of breath, shoulder pain, and nausea for years, I was diagnosed with a heavily inflamed gallbladder that demanded immediate surgery. And let me just say this. I didn't have to have surgery, but I had an issue with gallbladder and passing a gallstone. I tell you, there is nothing in the world more painful, including childbirth, because I've done both. And believe you me, if you can take care of a gallbladder issue or passing a stone, it's not easy. So I sympathize with this person. It says, I was worried about going on unpaid leave from my job as a technician at a manufacturing company because I had recently used all my paid time off for a vacation. But I decided to proceed with the surgery anyway, and I told my employer. 3 weeks later, against my doctor's advice, I went back to work. I had bills to pay and couldn't afford any more time off. My boss got worried when he saw me getting around with a cane, but I assured him that I was all right. Thankfully, payday finally arrived. When I looked at my check, I couldn't believe my eyes. I had received my full pay, including the 3 weeks I was out. I thought someone had made a huge mistake and contacted the payroll office right away. Well, it turned out that 3 fellow employees, my boss, our janitor, and an anonymous coworker, had donated vacation time to make up for time I was recuperating. It was so heartwarming to know that even in hard times, there are still kind people out there that are willing to help, and I didn't even have to ask. Well, I agree with this person, but what really struck me about this is the group of people that he says helped him. He said his boss, the janitor, and an anonymous coworker. Now, generally on most jobs, the janitors, they probably get paid the least. But to know that a person who perhaps got paid the least contributed to the well-being of somebody who truly was ill. And I'm a big proponent of random acts of kindness. And it doesn't always have to be that you're giving money, but sometimes just your time or helping somebody out. Many times I see people when they go to the grocery store and they're struggling, to get their groceries in the car. It's always nice when somebody comes over, particularly a male, and offer to help put your groceries in the car. And ladies, if men come over and ask to help you put groceries in your car, allow them. I know that, you have to be skeptical. I get that. But if they're just being kind, allow that. Allow men to be gentlemen. But I do understand, you just can't trust any and everybody. I totally get that. But if it's a safe situation, then by all means, allow them to be kind, especially this time of the year. This is the season of giving, and Christmas is a short time away. So if the opportunity presents itself and you can do a random act of kindness, then by all means take the opportunity to do so, because kindness can go an extremely long way in this world. And, I know I do. When I'm listening to the news all the time, very seldom do they mention kind things. They just mention one devastatingly bad story after another. But I know that there are a lot of kind people out there. And, if what I'd love to do on next week's show, if you've had something extraordinarily kind happen to you, I'd love for you to share it with me, because I love telling people about random acts, because, the world is kind of jaded and a little cynical, and they just don't believe that people are nice and that they're willing to do nice things anymore. But I have very wonderful, kind things happen to me all the time. So that's how I know that kindness is it's still a very big deal, and people do want to be kind. But so don't believe the hype that people are just mean and nasty, because sometimes they are. But I believe that they're kinder more often than they are mean and nasty. And like I said, I have been the recipient of many acts of kindness from total strangers, and I appreciate that. And vice versa, I have been kind to many strangers, and it was very rewarding to be able to help them out. I will never forget one time standing in a grocery line, and several of my friends have had this happen too. And it's the person in front of you, they are, say, $2 or $3 short, and they've run to the end. You know how they've run the tally for their bill, and they're digging in their purse trying to find a quarter and some change to make up the difference. Well, I always take the opportunity, if I'm standing behind them, to just pay, if it's anywhere between $1 and $5, just pay the money. Just make their day, because that's not something that they're expecting. And it's not that you're trying to make them feel badly about not having the money, but you can see that they didn't readily have it available. So just take the opportunity to pay the difference. And believe me that they will thank you profusely. So if you're looking for something to do, just hang out at the grocery store and it will give you plenty of opportunity to be kind. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed tonight's show on volunteering and making a difference in this world and random acts of kindness. It's we can all make ourselves a committee of one to be committed to doing wonderful and kind things to one another, especially during this season. Hopefully, you can be kind all year long, but the holiday season in particular. So when you're out there shopping and moving around, take your best attitude public. Don't be Scrooge, Take your best attitude out there as you're moving around. And we want to always remind you on this show, it's about moving from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. So keep that in mind as you go through this week. Good night, everybody.
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Hey yo, I remember Marvin Gaye used to sing to me.